What I most love about Buffalo ReUse is that it has a big picture vision. It's not just about one thing. It's not about pulling out one part and saying, if you do this, you're going to solve all the problems. Because it's not that simple. You could tear down all the houses and build nice parks and green spaces, but then you still have young kids hustling down on the corner and kids getting shot up on the corner of Jefferson and Utica, right? And those types of crises, right? So you have to have a multifaceted approach that's both reactive and addresses the most urgent needs on the streets, which is blight and vacancy. Then you also have to have the proactive side of the solution, which is and the grassroots and getting to the root causes solution, which is we've got people that are struggling here. They don't have jobs. We have young people that are out of school and don't have opportunities. They don't have support networks. They don't have people that care about them. They don't have people that love them. And until you address that social dynamic, right? I don't care how many beautiful houses you build, right? All you'll do is displace the population. That's gentrification, right? Gentrification, people come in and they build beautiful houses and the property values go up and everything's great, but where did all the problems go? They just went down the street. They just went to the next neighborhood. They just went to the next town. They just became Cheektowaga's problem, right? But until you embrace that neighborhood and give those people the tools they need to stay in that neighborhood and invest in that neighborhood and own that neighborhood, and you give young people the access and the opportunity and the tools and the skills so that they don't need to hustle out there, so they don't need to shoot each other up, then you start to talk about the solutions and you get to the solutions. When my problems with the board began 2 years ago, it was because of that difference. Even though that has been articulated since the beginning of time, that's what Buffalo ReUse is really about. I mean, we used to say in our founding meetings that deconstruction was the engine that drove the car to all of these potential opportunities for our organization. And we used to say you got to start the engine before you can drive the car. And the engine was the opportunity, which was deconstruction, which was reclaiming materials, which was selling materials. It's the heart of the organization. If we don't generate our own revenue, we don't have independence. If we don't have independence, we can't be innovative. If we can't be innovative, we can't really get to the root of problems. Because innovative solutions at the root of the problems are risky. And not everybody wants to get behind risky ventures. You know, not everybody wants to work with the most vulnerable kids on our streets. It's risky to work with dropouts. It's risky to work with, drug addicts. It's risky to work with previous offenders. But somebody needs to work with them. Somebody needs to give them a chance. But it's risky business. But if you have a solution and you have a strategy for how you can minimize and control risk while helping to empower them and have a positive impact on their life, now we can talk about how we get from point A to point B. And we do that because we're unique in our not-for-profit structure and that we can generate our own revenue. I have been the champion for the holistic mission, and they have fought it. And they've fought it for a long time. And for whatever reason, the second generation of board members was either suspicious of my motivations or didn't trust me or whatever it happened to be, and it almost started from their first day on the job, and it deteriorated from there. And then, we didn't have all the tools to do the job as well as we would have liked to. We didn't have support from our treasurer. We didn't have an effective financial manager for the first year and a half of the organization. That created issues. It made it really hard for me to juggle all of the things that I was juggling and juggle the finances and the payments and the accounts payable and weekly payroll and chasing money every day to get, revenue in and revenue out. And because most of my vendors are friends, I had a strong commitment to paying them as fast as possible. And that's where I went wrong. I paid people too fast. I didn't keep enough money in the bank. I didn't keep a large enough buffer. But on the other hand, we didn't have, it really literally was week to week. We didn't have a lot of buffer to keep, It sounded like a great idea, but when the state's payment was 6 months late, that put us back $60,000, Money that we anticipated getting last November didn't come until April. And it created a lot of challenges during the slowest time of the year. So.
You keep saying we. Are you going to continue on with the organization and just as a
well, it's we. It's not me anymore. It's never. It was my original thrust. I came to Buffalo. I saw an opportunity. A lot of people had talked about it. I said, let's do it. Let's not talk, let's do it. Let's make it happen. And people got sucked into that inertia, and they made it happen. But Kevin runs the store. Cassandra runs the green space program. She manages AmeriCorps volunteers. She gets hundreds of volunteers a month into the neighborhood. Right now, I'm putting it in the hands of the organization to hopefully embrace some sanity in this situation and see if they can impact the result. I would like to not leave Buffalo ReUse. I would like to. We've spent a lot of effort and time and energy building this. I'd like to continue to do that. I have a lot invested in it, and there's a lot on the line, and it'll be a shame to see it dwindle into something that isn't a big picture solution. But if that becomes the fate, that Michael Gaynor is not to continue at Buffalo ReUse, and after it plays out with the board and plays out with the membership, and they all decide that this is in the best interest of the organization, I'm not going to cry over spilled milk. Of course, I'll do what I can to help transition to the next field supervisor or whoever is going to help keep things going and support Amanda and folks. And then then I'll move on to the next big idea. I got at least a dozen in my head, so I'm sure I'll figure something out.